welcome to another episode of the Oriire podcast, the podcast that tells African stories. I'm Ceci.
And I'm Halima. Welcome to this week's episode. So today I have a cold, so excuse my voice, everyone. And today we're going to be talking about superstitions on the African continent. So like superstitions we heard growing up as kids and stuff like that in Nigeria, Egypt, Uganda, and South Africa. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we're just going to go over these superstitions. I'm sure that they'll sound familiar to you guys. The first one I know is like you shouldn't let somebody walk over your sleeping body. Actually, the version I know is that you shouldn't let somebody walk over your body if you're lying down at all.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, if that happens, it means you are a corpse, which, well, that's extreme. And there's another variation of the myth that says, if you walk over a pregnant woman, there's a high possibility that the child will turn out to look like you, which sounds a bit crazy.
There's another version I heard. This one, you don't even have to be pregnant and you don't even have to be a woman, right? But if you're lying down and someone walks over you, it means that your first child is going to look like that person. That's so interesting.
I mean, I wonder if there's ever been any validation to this. Like, is there any instance where somebody's first child actually came out looking like somebody that walked over them? That's not related to them. If this has happened to you, please, we would like to hear more about it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that a lot of people, like kids and stuff, they didn't want to lie on the floor, or they didn't want to, like, if someone walked over you or something, you'd tell them to go back in the opposite direction just to make sure that like it doesn't come.
I did that thing a lot because I just did not want to take any risks.
But I don't even understand why people walk over another person someone in the first place. Like, why is that something that happens often enough that there's actually a superstition? I don't know.
But anyway, that's interesting. This is a popular one. When it's raining and it's also sunny at the same time, it means a lion is giving birth. I feel like at some point in our lives we've heard this one.
I have never heard this before we were doing the research for this episode. I have never heard it before. That's crazy. That's really cool, actually.
Interesting. I've heard this one like a few times.
I think that's a really cool explanation for that phenomenon happening.
I don't know if this one is a superstition, but who knows? Because
I mean, it is.
Again, I feel I was probably a very gullible child because I did believe this one as well.
I don't know why.
But it just sounded so cool.
It does sound like something magical, though, mm-hmm. Like the rain and sun happening at the same time. So I get that. I guess it's. Another one is if you sleep face up, like you sleep facing up, it means that it's easier for spirits to have access to your body and soul. Actually, I didn't hear this one. The one I know about is if you sleep with your legs on the wall, it means you're attending a meeting of witches at night. You know that one. So the myth I know is that if you sleep and your legs are touching the wall, like you sleep with your legs braced on the wall, then it means you're attending a meeting of witches, like you're attending your COVID meeting. And this is actually in Nollywood movies as well. I'm sure I've seen that, like you sleep whether one foot on the wall or both feet on the wall. It means that as you're sleeping, you're in that COVID meeting, which is a bit of a, I don't know, a leap of judgment, let's say.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the one that when your hand itches you, it means money is coming, or you have money, or money is somewhat coming. So this one is actually, again, I'm not sure if this is a superstition or a myth or if it's actually true, because I don't know. This one, I don't know if I believe it, because come on, your hand itching you means money. What do you think about that one?
I don't know, but I've heard it before, and I don't think it's just an African myth or a Nigerian myth either. I feel like I've heard it like it's an American myth or British or something about itchy palms. So if your palm is itchy, it means money is coming in or out. That's just a general superstition worldwide, I think.
Do you think there's merit to this one then?
I don't know. I don't like to say there is or there isn't. I mean, these are superstitions. So we're looking at them as superstitions. I can't say if a superstition is true or not. Some of them I think no way, no chance. The itchy palm thing, I don't know. Sometimes it can just be like confirmation bias or like, you know, I don't know.
Anyway, my hands have been itching for a minute now. So you guys, I'll keep you updated on how much money I
Halima
get.
pounds, Halima dollars. Just don't forget us,
As
Sha.
in, as in. So now we're moving to South Africa. The first myth or superstition, or however, whatever you want to describe it with, that we have is the one of Van Honks and the devil. So apparently, Jan Van Honk is a like South African legend. He's an old retired sea captain who regularly hikes up the slope of mountains, and apparently that mountain is now called Devil's Peak in South Africa. And then he looked over the settlement of Cape Town. Basically, one day while Van Honks was smoking, a stranger walked up to him and asked if he could join him in smoking. And Van Honks and the stranger smoked together until the stranger challenged Van Honks to a smoking duel. Van Honks accepted and the two smoked so that the clouds could form smoke over the mountains. Eventually, the stranger could not keep up with old Van Honks and he stood up to leave. As he stumbled away, Van Honks glimpsed a red tail trailing behind the stranger, and he realized that he had been smoking with the devil, basically. So that's why that mountain is called Devil's Peak, because Van Honks, who was on that mountain, smoked with the devil. That's so interesting.
First of all, that's incredibly fascinating. That is
Yeah.
very, very interesting. But my question, the main thing that is the question in my head is, what exactly is a smoking duo? What does that mean?
It
How
means
can
like
you do?
who can inhale the most smoke puffs?
Or is it like
Or
making shapes with the smoke? You know, some people can do that. Maybe that's it.
or maybe like who can go through like the most pack of cigarettes? That could be it.
Wow, okay. And
And
Van
Van
Honk's
Honks
one.
clearly had an issue. Like he had a smoking problem, because how imagine for you to win like against the devil. That's amazing. But
I find this very interesting. Like whether this story is, I mean, superstitions and myths like this usually are passed down from generations to generations. Possibly initially it started as maybe somebody got into a smoking competition with a bad man. And then as the story evolved and went down and down, the bad man became the devil. Or maybe even like he was a dark-skinned man. It could be anything. It could be somebody who was wearing a red suit with a tail, or it could have just been like somebody was just smoking and then somebody just added the devil into the story. Regardless,
and
I find
another
it very
way
interesting.
I'm like thinking about it, maybe this was just a way for some parents to scare their child into not smoking, and then it became like a mythical thing.
If that's it, I don't think it's very effective. I don't think
I
this is
mean,
a
it
very
kind of is,
effective.
because it just shows that if you keep smoking too much, at some point you'll be worse than the devil. And I don't
I
think anybody
don't
wants
know,
to be worse
because
than the
like at
devil.
the end of the day, I think that for you to have a myth or superstition that is imparting a clear moral lesson, then the person who does the wrong thing has to lose something or win something for doing the right thing, like negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement. In this case, he didn't lose anything. He didn't win anything. He just had a smoking competition, which he won. They didn't even bet, so at the end of it, all it says is that, look, if you smoke well enough, you can win a smoking competition against anybody. So I don't think that this is effective
Or
at
maybe they were just
preventing
trying to
children from
find
smoking.
like a backstory for the mountain called Devil's Peak. That could also be a thing.
That makes
Because yeah,
sense.
it's a real place, yeah. Devil's Peak in Cape Town. I just Googled it. So maybe they just wanted a backstory for that.
I think that's very cool.
Okay. The next one is a crowing hen. So apparently, when a hen crows, it has to be killed immediately, because it's said to be cursing the family, and one of the members of the family will die. So I imagine like if a hen crows in like the compound of a South African family, that means the chicken, the hen, the chicken, whatever, has to be killed to avoid one of the members of the family dying. That's interesting.
So I know that cocks crow, like because cocks are the male chicken, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know that hens could crow. So maybe if they do, it is a bad one. But apparently, according to
Oh my
you didn't
goodness.
get it,
I didn't
yeah.
even get it.
Because the
Oh
hen
my
is the female
goodness.
chicken.
Yes.
But apparently, this
Oh
happens.
my goodness. I didn't even get that. Oh, so this makes yes, you have to kill that hen immediately. Why?
No, according to Google, this happens when the hen becomes the top dog, basically. If the hen wants to assert her dominance, she's at the top of the pecking order, maybe there are no roosters or whatever, then she will crow. But Halima was like, yes, you should kill it.
Yes. Interesting. But then, maybe let's go a little bit deeper. This could also mean like something about like African society just being very patriarchal, because it's like a female chicken is not supposed to crow. So why
very,
she
very true.
Do you get
true.
So they're like, the only way to curb this is to kill that, because that just like in the heads of like all these older men and whatnot, that just like upsets the balance, because that's not supposed to happen.
So they just decide to kill the poor hen who has committed no crime.
And then they just made it into like a myth and stuff. So interesting.
There is one folktale, a South African folktale, and it says that whistling at night can invite demons. So basically, if you whistle in the night, it is an invitation to the spirits. So you can attract evil spirits, snakes, occult members, or you might even find yourself in a strange place. Ooh.
But I think we have something like this in Nigeria, though.
Like, I think so as well.
At night. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I actually think it makes sense as like kind of a cautionary tale. And this is a superstition that is completely logical. Because yes, if you are out at night, especially if you are alone, you should probably not be making any loud noises.
As in,
because you will attract attention. So whether that attention in the middle of the night is very likely to be negative attention.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it is a spirit or a murderer or a robber you attract, I mean, you can call it a demon.
But yeah, I think, you're correct.
It makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our final South African myth for today. And basically, there is a bird called the hammerkop bird. It's spelled Hamerkop. And apparently this is a real bird, guys. And it's found in like Madagascar. And anyway, so the hammerkop bird is believed to be a bearer of like death tidings, much like the raven. Is it the raven or the vulture? Well, the vulture comes after the death. So basically, anybody who sees this hammerkop bird at dusk, and if it's doing some weird activity and crying, they'll feel a skin prickle. So you feel like your skin prickling. And when 2 or 3 hammerkop birds are feeding, they'll do a weird dance and skip around each other and open and close their wings. So that dance is reminiscent of the 3 weird sisters from Macbeth. If you guys haven't read Macbeth, although I don't know why this is referencing Macbeth instead of more African literature, but I guess that's the most iconic. Honestly, that's the most iconic 3 witch sisters in literature history, the double toil and trouble sisters. And basically, the hammerkop birds, when they are in groups of 3, are said to be like a callback and basically to represent the witches. So when they can look in water, they can see reflections of the future and they know who is going to die. So then when they know that who that person is, they'll go to that person's home and cry 3 times to warn them. It's said that they watch for the falling star, and that falling star prophesies death. So if it falls above the area of the house someone's about to die, it will fly over, the hammerkop bird will fly over that house and cry 3 times. It's all very creepy, to be honest.
Again, this particular myth might have just stemmed from the fact that Africans don't like weird shaped animals.
I mean, you're probably right about that.
Innocent birds, they might just have been flying and then someone now died the next day And then they're like, wow, it's because of those things that flew. But who knows? That's an interesting one.
Very interesting. I mean, to be honest, many cultures, not just African cultures, have, birds which bear death tidings. So I can kind of understand where that would come from, and those are some common threads. But the specificity of saying that, like, they remind people of the three witch sisters from Macbeth, I find that really interesting for an African myth. Anyway, do you think that in a lot of myths, witches often come in threes? This is something we should explore. Because they're actually, if I think about a lot of, because fantasy is my favorite genre of book to read. And now if I'm thinking about it, whenever they depict witches, often they come in threes, right? So Macbeth, the three witches. Even in Harry Potter, Harry, Hermione, Ron, the three witch and two wizards, but you can call them three witches. In the Terry Pratchett series, you have the three witches, and it's always it represents the crone, the maiden. What is it? The crone, the maiden, and the what? Do you know the three?
I really don't.
This is my love of the crone, the maiden, and the mother. So the three. It's always like that when they depict witches in literature. Anyway, I'm digressing now because, guys, I'm a literature nerd. So yeah. Let's move on.
Like 3 is like, the number 3 is typically associated with horrible things, because sometimes if you're like saying a spell, like the few fantasy movies and books I've read, if you're like saying a spell or something, they typically say it 3 times. Do you get? Is it 3 times or 7 times?
So that's the thing. The thing about supposedly magical numbers, they say 3 and 7. And I don't think it's just negative, because if you look at other things as well, like other religions, for example, in Christianity, you have a lot of repetition of 3 as well, as in the Holy Trinity. In other religions as well, like, for example, Irish people have the 3-leaf clover. Yeah, there are many 3s. It's just a very 3 and 7. This is a completely different episode now when we're talking about spiritual numerology.
Anyway, it's a very interesting number.
It really is.
We should probably talk about that.
Yeah, we should talk about 3 and 7, but I don't know if we have to look at their relationship to African mythology specifically, or African history. And now let's move on.
So now we're going to Uganda. So the first myth we have here is the one about new cars and chickens. So when a person buys a car in Uganda, people say that it's compulsory for her or him to share a delicious meal of chicken with their family members, because a car is still a symbol of wealth and hard work in most African countries. And basically, by celebrating your new car by sharing chicken, it also means that you're protecting yourself from having fatal accidents.
Very interesting. Why do you think it's chicken specifically? Why not share some beef or something like that? Why must it be chicken?
Because Africans love fried chicken.
Very true. Chicken is a celebratory food, I guess.
Meal, yeah.
So like you kill a chicken, or sometimes people kill goats as well, if it's something. Anyway, yes, very interesting. Another Ugandan myth says that when somebody returns from the hospital, they have to squash eggs beneath their feet. So this is to make sure that the illness never returns to them or their family. And it also happens with ex-convicts when they come back home. So they put their past life in jail and they come, with a new life back home. Anyway, I think
I saw this thing on TikTok recently, right? And all these like divine femininity sort of content. So the person was trying to repel. I actually love content like that, but that's another discussion for another day. But anyway, the girl was talking about how she's trying to repel negative energy, right? So she just like broke an egg on her forehead. She like broke one egg on her forehead. So maybe this is beyond Uganda. It probably, of course, it happens in Uganda, but it probably happens in other like places that practice voodoo and stuff like that. I think egg is a symbol. Like if you break an egg, it means you're basically sending evil spirits and stuff away. So that's an interesting one.
I've never known about the connection between eggs and spirituality. So that's
I've seen that.
interesting.
Yeah. So the next one we have is never eat in a dark room. So apparently in Uganda they have this thing where if you eat in the dark, it's said to be that you're eating with Satan, and then when the lights are out, you're not allowed to eat until the lights come back on. So
I mean, that's weird. But then at the same time, why would you want to eat in the dark? How will you even see the food?
maybe you don't
So
feel like
unless it's
seeing it.
like, but like, how will you even know? Like, no, I think you need some level of light to eat. If you are eating in like a completely dark room, then yes, that's a little bit weird. And you don't even know what is like if a fly lands on the food or something and you put it in your mouth. So so yes, I guess that makes sense because somebody who would eat in a dark room must be a very strange person, like a completely dark room.
I'm not judging you if you eat in a dark room,
Yes,
because
I'm so sorry, guys. No, that
I'm
was very rude
I'm
of me.
I just think I just want to have a discussion with you. That's all, because I'm
We just want
curious
to
as to,
understand. We just
yeah,
want
as
to
to how that
know.
works. Is it that after dishing the food, you turn off your lights, or like you dish your food and you warm it in the dark and then you
And
eat
you,
in the dark?
do you have night vision?
Yeah, like I just feel like there's so many questions to be asked.
Yes. So the final myth from Uganda is about the blessing of rain, where rain is regarded as a gift from the gods because rain makes crops grow, makes land and new, and is also good for feeding all the animals. And when rain comes, it means that food will be abundant. So if it didn't rain in the past, people used rainmakers and they would make sacrifices when there was a famine to bring rain. On the other hand, a drought is regarded as a punishment because it means that the gods must not be pleased with the community as they're making sure that the community has no food. So it's a natural representation of the beauty of the gods that watch over the land. And I think that that's a very common thread in most myths. I mean, in most cultures, people regard rain as a blessing, even till today. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. But I think, yeah, I agree with you on that, that this also can be found in like other cultures besides other cultures and other countries besides Uganda. Because I think it's a thing in Nigeria as well, right? Like when it's raining, people typically say go and pray or something. So because rain is good vibes. Oh yeah.
Yep. And our final country for today, where we are examining myths, is Egypt. Halima, kick us off.
So the first myth we have from the great country of Egypt is footwear can't be turned upside down. So ancient Egyptian superstition warns that leaving your shoes and flip-flops upside down would bring horrible events to you because they're considered a way of insulting God. But apparently, the superstition is that if you leave your shoes like upside down, basically like inverted, it's just like, I don't know, you're calling black magic and you're addressing the devil. So this is an interesting one.
I think that that's very interesting. I find that some superstitions are usually like a way to keep people in line. You know, probably they use this one to
Yeah.
keep children, make sure children were clean. Like if you're taking off your shoes, put them together, you know, against the wall. Don't let them turn upside down. Let it be neat. Otherwise, you are calling the devil and you're insulting God. You know what I mean? So it's likely that that stemmed from something like that. And yeah, I mean, if you are arranging your shoes, why let them be upside down, please? Be orderly and sensible. Thank you. Another
That makes a
Egyptian,
lot of sense.
yeah. Another
Because this is
Egyptian
just a
myth.
very
Oh.
random thing. Oh, sorry, I was just saying like this is a
No,
very, very random thing.
it
Like
is
leaving
very,
your food. Yeah.
it's
Okay, say the
random,
next
yeah.
one.
Another Egyptian myth is about scissors. So when you use a pair of scissors, make sure to close them back. And you know, put them away. Don't leave them open. And don't just open and close them for no reason. Because apparently, if you do so, it may change happiness into inevitable sadness. So because scissors are meant to cut and separate things. So until you close those scissors again, then apparently it can cut and separate and scatter relationships. Which, whoa, that's very scary sounding. I don't understand why
Interesting.
you would open scissors and not close them back.
Not closing. Well, similar to what you said about the first one, maybe it's just a way of keeping kids in line. So maybe that's how
Makes
this
sense.
myth probably originated. Then so basically you guys should stop leaving your scissors open. And then the next myth we have is entering the house with the right foot. So in Egypt, happiness can be ensured by crossing the threshold with the right foot. The superstitious Egyptians believe that the left foot should never cross the threshold first, and then you shouldn't tempt fate by entering your house with your left foot, basically. I think this one, besides the fact that, well, Egypt is an Islamic country to the best of my knowledge. It's also a Muslim thing, right? Like it's an Islamic thing where you shouldn't use your left foot to like enter a house, or like you shouldn't use your left hand to do certain things. Basically, according, especially with my mother, and Islamically, I know that they don't like using left foot or like left hand for a lot of things. So typically, let's say I want to enter my house now, I can't enter with my left leg. It's just a thing that they put into your head. The point is, I actually believe this superstition or myth or whatever. So
I don't
that's
believe it,
interesting.
but I think it is very, very common, and not just
Mm-hmm.
in like Islamic cultures
Mm-hmm.
or like Egypt. I think it's in Nigeria as well. And it's not just the foot. People have something against the left
Left
side of your
thing.
body.
Yeah.
Don't
Mm-hmm.
use your left hand to give money. Don't use your left hand to collect money. Don't use your left hand to collect food, to eat food. Like, don't use your left hand to write. That to the extent
Oh
that,
no,
you know,
that one,
kids,
that one is extreme. I don't support
yeah,
people
it's
that
part
do
of
that
it.
one.
But to the extent that kids who are left-handed were like beaten out of it until they had to be forced to start using their right hand. So yeah, I don't believe in it because I don't think that's, I mean, I don't
Using
know.
left
I
legs,
think,
yeah.
yeah, I think like even if you are like approaching it from a religious perspective, then whatever God you believe in gave you both those feet, okay? I'm sure they want you to use them.
Anyway, don't enter your house with your left foot, you guys. That's this one.
The last myth is making sure you finish your beverage. Drink it until the last drop. So in Egypt, if you enter an Egyptian house, you must finish your beverage until the last drop. And this is particularly if the house has a single girl. So if there's a single girl living in that house and you don't drink your beverage till the last drop, it's believed that bad luck will chase the girl and she will never get married. Oh my goodness. Imagine your face lying in the hands of any random stranger that just comes to your house. Anybody that just comes to your house and doesn't finish their water, they've ruined your life. Oh, hey,
I
that's
mean,
it.
this is actually very interesting because just think about it. So a guest comes to your house and then they don't finish their drink. Trust me, you finish that drink. I'll call you, come back here. Come on, finish this drink. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Maybe this one started with like people wasting stuff, and then they're trying to like teach people to be more
Yeah,
respectful about, like, especially with things that strangers serve you, like don't waste things and stuff
I
like
think
that.
it is related to wastage as well, and making
Mm-hmm.
sure that people are like polite and rude, because they say like if you go to somebody's house, you must eat all the food, you know, that they give
Mm-hmm.
you, etc. So this ties into that like culture of not promoting wastefulness and also making sure to be extra polite when you visit guests.
Yep.
But I don't want to believe this is true, because just imagine that kind of mission in your life. Like, you can't even risk having guests. If a guest should just come, you must make sure, chase them around with their cup of water. Please drink it. Oh. But then,
You
yeah,
have to now. You have to drink it. You must
but it
finish
makes
that
sense
water.
because if they offer you the water, it's probably because you requested it. So yes, you should drink it all. But then sometimes when you go to people's houses, they give you more than you request. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just say, oh, I'll just have a little bit, and they cut you a whole slice of cake or something like that. So it might be more than you requested, really, or it might be like a
I
giant
mean,
cup.
then
There's
just
so
take it
many
to your
factors.
house. Then just take the rest to your house.
But
Just
how do
tell
you know
them,
that they will take it to their house? It's better for them to drink it in your presence.
no. I mean, as long as it's shown in your house, so that to avoid this bad luck now, they should take
Okay,
it
they
out
should
of the
take the
house.
bad luck to their house.
Yes. Or they should trash it on the way to their house. Just take it from your house, basically. So this has been an interesting episode. I liked this myth.
I
They're
think so.
very
This was fun.
interesting. Yeah. Some of them I agree with. Some I think are very should be questioned. But yeah, all in all, this was nice. So anyway, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, stay notified,
tell your
and
friends.
all of that. Yeah.
And make sure you follow us on social media. On Twitter, we are Oriire_Africa. Oriire is spelled ORIIRE, and the same on Instagram. And go to our website, oriire.com, once again, ORIIRE, and get in touch with us if you would like to come on an episode of our podcast, because we would love to have you. We would love to talk to you about any topic related to African mythology, history, or food. And thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye, everyone.